What's up guys, Anders here with another video for you guys. This is going to be the start of a beginner series where I go over exactly from the very beginning what you should be doing or thinking about when you start the game. Of course, this is going to be different for a lot of people, but I thought my original series when I went to EU didn't really do a good job of showing what a beginner should be thinking about and doing in the very first hours of the game. So this is a sort of a attempt to redo that in a better way. It's been almost a year since I made that video, so hopefully within that year I've talked to a lot of new players and helped them out and kind of figured out a better way to show you how to progress through this game in a normal way where it's not like, oh, let me make 40 billion silver in a month or so by not playing the game. We're actually going to play the game and show you what you can do in this game. And the first thing I decided to do was make an archer. It doesn't really matter what class you play, just choose whichever one looks cool. It won't matter early on, it won't matter for a while really, and it will always change. There's always class balance changes happening every few to 6 months. So by the time you get to a higher gear, if you don't really like the class, then you should have changed the class a long time ago. In terms of what your appearance looks like, you don't really have to worry too much about it since now when you start the game you have 2 weeks of value pack, which lets you change your character appearance whenever you want. So you have 2 free weeks of that, and as you play through the game the attendance rewards will give you a little bit more time of that as well. So once your 2 weeks are up, you usually get 2 more weeks of value pack before you have to maybe think about spending some money on that or trying to get it from the market, though that is very unlikely. There is another option we have, but we'll talk about that a little later. Now, you've seen a cinematic. The Black Spirit gave you a quest. The Black Spirit can be summoned anytime by just pressing the comma key or summoning it from your whichever one key you have on your console. And you can always check whatever quests you have available through the Black Spirit. That's usually the main quests that will be available to you, and you can continue through the storyline that way. There's also a really nice looking arrow which tells you exactly where to go. If you press T, actually, it will automatically send you there. It even tells you here. We're in the tutorial at the moment, so it's a little on the nose. The tutorial is a lot better than it used to be. There's some cinematics that you can watch, and you can take the next quest, excavation site. It's just basically here. You talk to this guy. He'll say, oh, ask about the ancient artifact. He'll talk about that. And that's pretty much how questing goes when it's talking to NPCs. Apart from that, you'll see the second most common quest, which is to essentially get knowledge on gray fox. That means you have to kill some gray foxes. There you go. We don't have many skills here, so we just auto attack till it's dead. And I believe we go back to this person. If you don't know where to go, just right click and it will summon the Black Spirit. Okay. We get the next one. And that's pretty much it. I'll be back with you guys when we get to the next step of what you should be doing as a beginner. Alright, welcome back. So we basically have gotten to Velia. If you follow the main story, I'll get you right here talking to this guy, Aliston. I changed the appearance of my archer a little bit while we were waiting. And now we kind of basically have a couple of options. Velia is the first city or town that you get to. It's going to be your main hub really as you start the game. There's a lot more cities that you can make your home later on in the story if you want to. But Velia really has everything you need from the get-go. There are a couple options you can take right now. You can continue the main story, which I do suggest. There's other side quests here that are pretty useful to us. For example, this one right here, or there's one inventory quest right up here. We'll do that as I continue to kind of go over a couple things. We're going to go over a couple settings things. Some NPC do have cinematic introductions like this. But let's just take this quest real quick. It's just to kill one of these little monsters. Right over here. There we go, done. Easy. Easy inventory. So really, if you're a new player, you're probably going to be bombarded with just a lot of UI stuff. a lot of things going on in your UI, probably a lot of stuff happening up here. You don't know what that's about. You see people failing enhances, succeeding enhances, so on and so forth. It can get really crowded, and honestly, it should really be off by default, but if it's not, let's go into the settings and just kind of go over a couple things really quickly. So in the settings window, I want you to go to display, and in the game window, this will really depend on your machine, of course, but you want to be playing on full screen window if you're going to be alt-tabbing a lot to other windows like Chrome or Netflix or whatever you're doing, or full screen. Full screen will actually unlock your FPS to go above whatever your screen refresh rate is. So for me, if I go full screen right now, it'll go above 60. But let's just go back to full screen window. There we go. And nothing else really that you need to worry about here. If you don't really have a powerful machine, you can try playing on game window here, or try and use crop mode. What crop mode does, it basically minimizes, or it contains the same window, but minimizes the render screen to a smaller area. So you'll have black borders around, so you can have better performance. And display quality, I'm playing on remastered on high right now, but you can play around with this. The best settings from optimal FPS are really low and very low graphics. It will still look okay in my opinion, but you'll definitely have a lot more frames. If I go low and very low with my machine right now, I'll get close to 200 frames per second, to give you an idea. In terms of what I have on, I always take off display filter just because I don't think it looks very good. Far away objects you want to keep on most of the time. Depth of field is a personal preference. Far away NPCs, again, personal preference. Head effect, I turn that off because it kind of gets annoying after a while. This is just, again, personal preference, but remove others effects and far away effects is really something you want to have on most of the time unless you're PvPing. But if you're new, you're not really going to be doing that. So just put those off and you'll have a much better time out in the world, especially as you start doing world bosses. That can get a little annoying. If you're having some performance issues, if you look at low power option, if this is on, you want to turn that off. It will give you a great big boost of performance because it makes a big difference, honestly. Upscale, you never really want to use that. It just doesn't really work very well. In terms of effects, you can have different filters for the game. A bunch of different ones. Usually it's either vibrance or non-contrast are the ones that most people use. I tend to play on vibrance just because I like a little bit more color. Kind of like the saturated Samsung phones, really. Sometimes it looks a little too much, but it doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Let's go back to non-contrast for now, just to keep everything steady. Gamma and contrast are right here, so if you want to tweak this a little bit pertaining to your monitor, you can do that here. Effect opacity is at 90 at the moment. That's a good percentage. This is my personal one. I think it might be at 100 because it takes some of my settings from my main account, so that's why. At 90 is good. Some effects, for example, for some classes, they look too strong, so it may get tiring to see them if you're playing for a long time. Combat focus I have at 0 as usual. Camera graphics is a big one I really want to emphasize. Camera vision range, you want it max as much as you can. Of course, lowering it will lower your field of view, but increase frames per second. But you really want to have it at max as possible because it helps you in every aspect of the game, more immersive in my opinion, and just better in PvP and both PvE as well. Now, overall camera effects, you really just want to have this off. There's no real reason to have camera effects on. They can be really tiring on the eyes, but of course, it's personal preference. Vibration tends to be at 50% when you start the game. It's very shaky. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like. So it adds some weight to your moves, but again, it's just after seeing that for a long time, you're starting to get sick. So I turn that all off, blur effect off, and just hit apply on that. That should help a lot if you're having some nausea from playing the game. A lot of people do complain about that early on because they don't know that you can actually turn off that vibration and camera effects. Screenshots not really a big deal. You do get a watermark from the default. You can turn that off. If you wish, you can choose no watermark, or you can choose what specific region you want the label to be. Usually, if you're in South America and EU, it would just look a certain way, and so on and so forth. Audio settings, again, up to you. It doesn't really matter what you choose here. That's all up to you. Although I do recommend others volume at 0, so you don't have to hear everyone else's grunts. That kind of gets annoying after a while. Fairy volume, you don't really need to worry about that as a new player, honestly. Voice volume, that will really depend. There are some very annoying NPCs that tend to just scream the same thing over and over again, and that can get annoying, so you might want to put that 0. But being new, you don't really get irritated too quickly, in my opinion. You can leave them up here until there's some funny things that NPCs say you might appreciate. In general settings, simplification, keep active aiming assistance on. For the most part, you want to keep that on. These other ones are really just preference. Quick slot will just unlock more little quick slots that you can use for whatever you need, skills or potions or whatever. Screensaver and simplify UI, really not needed. Show hide, this is the big one, I guess. When some people don't like seeing your name above your character, you can choose to always hide it to take that away, so you have a more, I guess, immersive experience. You can choose to hide everyone else's name if you wish. Show the ranking, that means anyone who is high rank in a certain life skill or profession or whatever, they'll have a badge above their head, and you can choose to not see that if you wish. Show a stacked HP bar, that's a separate thing that is more PvP focused. It basically allows you, instead of seeing one red bar from 0 to 100 of someone else's HP, it will have a different color depending on how many thousands of HP that person has. So as you progress to a more higher level of PvP, you'll be able to notice which players have higher HP than normal, for example. So you can kind of gauge at their power level in a sense that way. Zone change and all these things this is my preference. I usually keep quest NPC status, amity status, and all enemies as the only options on their characters here. Mainly because amity status is good to know if you're doing the amity game, which I'll go over a little later. Quest NPC status, it just shows you, it flashes what kind, and if you're in progress, it will be flashing blue. If you completed it, it's flashing red, so you know to go to the red NPC, and so on and so forth. All enemies, of course, if someone has flagged on you and you're not aware of it because you don't know that the little symbol yet, it will flash red and tell you that this person is bad. So now you know. In terms of pets, it's usually at show all pets. You'll see everyone's pets. Not a good idea for frames. You want to hide your pets or show only my pets, depending on what you choose. Of course, we don't have any pets right now, but I use hide pets mainly. Unless you have really cute pets and you want to see them all the time, you can use show only my pets. Fairy, same thing. Campsite settings, you want to use hide others campsites. That's the cash shop tent that people have usually when there's a world boss. I think that's been fixed, but when there's a gathering of a lot of players, they tend to take out their tents, and it can be just really, really annoying because your whole vision is blocked by tents. Not very exciting, to be honest, but now you can hide it and you don't have to deal with that, and it helps your frames tremendously. And finally, at the bottom here, we have attack decisions. That's really good. It will tell you when you've hit a crit, a back attack, a down attack, a bunch of modifiers. Combo video guide is kind of okay for you to use in the beginning. It will just show you basic combos that you can use for your class. It's not a bad idea to have this still on. And transparent mask, this is a ship thing. Basically, when you're on a ship, the mast will become transparent, so you can actually see in front of you and not just the sails blocking your vision. Alerts, this is the big one. Honestly, the first thing you probably want to do is turn all of these off. These are basically everything you see up top here. Everyone trading, everyone doing imperial trading, others life skill gains, enhancement successes, marketplace items going up, horse market items going up, workers going up. Every single notification is on when you start the game. So you turn this off and then you are free, honestly. It feels so good not to have that just spamming you. Sometimes you do want to keep, if you're, for example, looking for a new horse, you want to have the horse market or worker exchange on so you can kind of be notified when a new tier 8 horse or a tier 9 horse is being put on the market. But as a new player, you're not really looking into that. That's a long way away for you right now. Zone change and all that, just keep that all off until guild mission. I do keep that on if you do join a guild and you're doing a guild mission. It kind of updates you on how much you're contributing at the moment, which is always nice. World map, this is personal preference, but this is how I have it. I have no animation and 90 degrees. So when I open up my map, it just looks like this. Otherwise, it would do an animation and kind of zoom out or at an angle, and it just doesn't look good for me. I like my maps just straight like this, 90 degrees, and usable. That's how it should be, really. But yeah, map, that's pretty much it. Language, there are obviously different languages that you can use for the game: English, French, German, and Spanish. If you choose a different language other than English, while you're in game, you'll have to restart the client, and then you'll be fine. If you choose chat channel other than international, you'll be basically confined to that language. So if you choose English only, people who have chosen English only chat will be able to speak to you and you to them, but otherwise you won't be able to really see as many people. I usually keep it on international. I suggest you do as well. Miscellaneous guide arrows, that depends on like when you do an auto path. So when you go to on the map and you say, oh, this quest, I want to go here, you would right click on this quest. On console, it's very similar. You would just go over here and whatever, target it. And then you have this arrow here, right? In the game, you can see the arrow as well. You can change how that arrow looks if you want. I just keep it as the linear arrows. Not really a big deal. You can take that away as well if you don't like the way it looks. You can take that away, but you'll still have the little initial arrow. There's a guide line as well. This is what it looks like, or a guide fairy, which is like a little glowing fairy that will show you the way. I usually like the arrows. If you want to reject invites, duels, and trades, you can do so as well. You won't be bothered. Usually people don't really do this unless for duels, I guess if you're in a grind spot and someone wants to duel you for the spot. But again, not very common to really need to turn these on. And hide UI when attacked is usually on when you start the game. That means if you have the UI open like this and you get attacked by a monster or a player, it will hide the UI immediately. That's usually a good thing. But as you get further and further into the game, you'll maybe want to look at your map or whatever, or a menu or your other market. And then if you get hit by the smallest of monsters, the UI will go down and you have to open it up again. So it's annoying. So I have that on off, so that way if I do get attacked, the UI will not hide. Auto run camera, again, that's preference, doesn't really matter. There are some LED animation effects that you can do for, I think, Razer mouses if you wish. And then finally, there's some UI hotkey keybinds that you can change if you wish. And the big one is mouse interface. So when you start the game, mouse to move is active, so you can click to move your character. Okay, this is good and kind of essential on some classes, though the developers are kind of on the fence right now whether or not they're going to disable this mouse to move, because some classes do become really quite good when they're able to move unnaturally like this. So they're kind of thinking about disabling it. We don't know yet, but if you just find it annoying as a new player, you don't really need to worry about it too much. You can just go here, turn it off, apply, and then you can just move normally. And that's pretty much the UI in a nutshell, kind of an optimization guide on the get-go there. Hopefully that was pretty clear for you guys. Now we're going to take a look at what we have in our inventory, because that's another question I get a lot, the inventory. So you usually open it with I on the keyboard if you're on PC, and this is your inventory. This is basically what what you should have as well if you've gotten to Alliston and you just done that one quest over there that we did. You see these little packages here, that's inventory plus one expansion. If you right click on it, it will expand your inventory by exactly that amount. So there you go. If you auto arrange, it will just auto arrange your gear. If you see these little arrows on these pieces, that means that this is better than what you currently have equipped. So if I equip this armor, there you go. It will give me more stats than what I had before. Obviously, we had nothing equipped, so equipping this helmet will also help us. Some helmets, for example, don't actually show on the character. So even though you have a helmet on, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll see a helmet on certain characters. It depends, of course, on the class, but most of the time you won't see really a big difference. Earrings, we can just put these on. If they don't have any actual stats, like these earrings only have accuracy, so you won't really see this arrow, but they're still good to have. And let's see here. We can just choose these. And there we go. Now we have the best possible gear that we can have on our character right now just from getting to this point. It's not a lot of gear, to be honest, and we have a couple of these gold bars. I'm going to go over that really quickly just because I do want to talk about the storage and how it works. Storage in every town is really easy to find. It's usually a chest, Velia storage keeper, right here. We'll talk to him and open up the storage. So the storage has nothing in it right now. It tells you how much storage you have available to you, and you can put things in the storage just by right-clicking on it if you wish. Now for these gold bars, there's different types, but they're all basically the same. They're just worth money. Silver is the main currency in this game. So when you go to currency exchange, you want to right-click on it to sell it to the warehouse and then get the silver that is valued. So now we sold 2 bars and we got a little bit over 1 million silver in funds to our inventory. Now I'm going to show you how to put money into the market. So the market system is called the central market. You can open it up anywhere in the world to look at what is available to purchase. The central market has a warehouse balance that is separate from your inventory and your city storage balance. Okay, so to put money into this, I guess, wallet, you want to go to a storage keeper or a warehouse manager and then transfer money where it says deposit. We're looking at our inventory right now. We have a little bit over 1 million and we want to deposit exactly that amount. And there we go. We now have, if we go back to central market, that amount in our wallet to spend on market items. We can sell things as well. I'll show you. I don't think I actually have anything. Maybe this will actually be able to be sold. Let's go to warehouse. It's the same concept. If we want to sell something, we just right click on it to put it into the warehouse storage. And once it's in the warehouse storage, we can go to sell and we'll see it right here. We can click this and it'll tell us all the different prices we can set. Right now it's auto selected the lowest price above the min price. So someone's listed it at 62,000, so we can list it at 61,500. Someone has 2 orders at 60,500. If we wish, we can sell it to this person and sell it immediately. Otherwise, when we choose 61,500 and set register, it will sit there until someone actually buys it. If you change your mind for whatever reason, you can click cancel and it will go back to your warehouse storage. And there you go. You have a capacity that is limiting to how many things you can have on the warehouse storage, but it's very large and you don't really have to worry about it too much. There is a tax that will be placed on anything you sell. If you have a value pack, that tax will be a little less. So I believe it is 65% of the value is what you keep when you sell it normally. And if you have a value pack, it's 84.5% at base is what you keep. The higher your family fund or your family fame, the better. So family fame, really quick, is essentially this. Family fame is 22 right now. You increase it by increasing these three values. The first value is just combat fame. The higher you level on a character, the more points you get. If you hit 56, you'll get twice the number of points. If you hit level 60, you'll get 5 times the number of points. And if you create another character and then do the same thing and hit level 60, it will add up to the combat fame as well. There's a profession one called life fame for life skills. And if you hit a life skill, professional 1 or higher, you'll start getting points for that. And you get twice the amount of points if you get guru, which is not easy to do, let me tell you. And of course, special fame retains your points depending on your energy and your contribution points. So we'll go over energy and contribution points really quickly here. So energy is here, 32 out of 32. We have 32 energy to expend out of 32 maximum amount of energy that we have right now. Energy is used for a lot of things, but mainly for gathering or unlocking knowledge. You only have to unlock knowledge once, and that's pretty much it. But gathering takes 1 energy per gather. Usually when the higher your gathering level, the less chance you'll have, or the more higher chance you'll have to not consume an energy point. Contribution, that's pretty much energy in a nutshell. You can increase it by talking to NPCs. So you see these little exclamation points. You talk to these person, you get knowledge from them. We got knowledge from this guy. And as you gain knowledge, you'll be able to unlock these sort of knowledge entries. And once you have the entire section, or the majority of the section, you get knowledge energy points. So this getting the majority of this Eastern Balanos category will give us 4 energy points that will increase our energy pool. That's the basic way of getting energy increase. Contribution points is just by questing most of the time, and that's pretty much it. Just quest a lot and you'll be able to get a lot of contribution points. You can also do daily quests to increase your contribution points. And contribution points are used to invest in many different buildings around the world. So in towns, you see these little houses. These houses will offer you storage to increase your storage capacity, refineries to craft different items, workbenches to craft different crates of items, or a residence where you can set up cooking tools and alchemy tools, beds, furniture items that you want to make your house look nice. If we go over here, this house is bigger, so it costs more. And so we don't have the CP to do so. But if we go to, for example, this house and hit residence and purchase the residence, doesn't cost anything to buy a residence. We can go into it right here. I believe, yes, see, it says Volia 21 residence. We can open the door and we are in our residence. Very shabby looking, I have to say, but that's basically how it goes. Different residences around the world, many different styles depending on the region, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover so far in this section. I'll get us some money and then we'll go over getting some gear for your character, since the ones that you get by this point aren't really enough. So I do suggest just continuing the story until you get maybe around 10 to 15 million silver, which you will get very easily just by continuing the main story. And then we can start buying some gear for your character. So I'll see you in a bit.